Vwjw, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very interesting program for you. You know, we've heard a lot about healthy eating. We've heard a lot about illnesses that plague our community at disproportionate rates, and that we have to do something about it. So our topic for tonight is natural healing. And our guest tonight is Vwjw. She's going to share with us how natural healing can play an important part in our lives. It is our obligation to ourselves to be healthy. It is our obligation to people around us to be healthy. It is our obligation to the people in the community to help us to spread the word, and for us to spread the word in the community with people that we come in contact with about being healthy, because it affects all of us, and our culture screams out to us for our help in being healthy. We must be healthy, and when you're not, you spend a lot of money with doctors, you spend a lot of money with medicines, and you spend a lot of money on over-the-counter drugs, and you still are not well. So as we think about natural healing, Vwjw is the person, is the expert in it. She knows how we can help ourselves and we can help others. Welcome, Vwjw.
Well, thank you, Dr. Waddell. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, our topic for tonight is health, is natural healing.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as natural healing?
Oh, absolutely, there's such a thing. I believe that there is always something that can be done instead of artificial chemicals and these pharmaceuticals that we drug ourselves with that are synthetically made. So it's about natural instead of synthetic healing.
So when we say that the chemicals are made in a laboratory?
They're made in the laboratory, as much of our foods are, but we know that the pharmaceutical industry is our labs, and they put different compounds together that are not natural to the body. Even a lot of the vitamins are synthetic, and the body doesn't really recognize them. So we think we're doing good things for ourselves when we're really harming ourselves even more.
How do we know that the vitamins that we're taking, do we go by the label? There's nothing in it that tells us what's in it. It doesn't say so much sugar, so much soybeans. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say.
That's so true. So it's important that you try to get the most optimally made vitamin that you can, meaning that you're going to spend more for it than you do at the corner drugstore or at the big box store where you might go to get your vitamins. So you may want to, you have to do your research, and there's one of the things that you can look at on the label is that vitamins that contain magnesium stearate, mm-hmm. that's a poison.
Oh.
And it's a known poison, but it's in almost every vitamin that you get on the shelf. So that's one thing. And so part of what I do is help
magnesium, what's the word?
Magnesium stearate. Magnesium stearate, S-T-E-R-A-T-E. Magnesium stearate is a poison, and it's known to be a poison, but they use it to keep the ingredients that are in the vitamin free flowing. Like when they put it in a capsule, it keeps it from clumping up. So it's an anti-caking agent, but so you take a little bit every time you take a vitamin. So it's kind of like poisoning yourself every time you think
and you don't know
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And I mean, that's the bottom line. So one of the things that we do is help provide resources for people. I do the research. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I just have a love for it, and it's a calling of mine. So I help people to find out, to get the answer to the question that you asked about how do you know.
Now, will doctors refer people to you?
Definitely not.
Well, you got to get your clients some way, and they have to know that you are there to help. So they've gone to the doctor because they're hurting, they're ill, and they're sick.
Yes.
The doctor has to refer them to something.
Right. Well, they don't refer them to me. My clientele base over the 40 years has come from people with 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on the banana peel. People wait until they're almost terminally ill before they reach out to another alternative. But now we live in an age where the consciousness has grown, where people are looking for alternatives. So people come to me because they want to do something other than the medication and the knife.
Now, can anybody do what you're doing?
Everybody can. Everybody can.
Any person who has a desire and a willingness to do what you're doing can do it. They don't have to go to school and be trained.
That's right.
Are you a naturopathic physician?
I learned it because I prayed. I had a problem, and I've been researching it for 40 years. Anybody can do this. You just have to have the interest and the discipline to study, because the same amount of study, if I had gone to a school for 40 years, I would know something. So I know something. And the other part of it is that God made the body in such a way that it's designed that it will heal itself. And when you begin to give the body the things that it needs and stop giving it the poisons that we put in it every day, it begins to heal itself. So I teach a philosophy of self-healing.
Well, then there's no such thing as cancer, and there's no such thing that you can't be, of a cancer that you cannot be cured of if your philosophy is applied to it.
And that is true. If the philosophy, the discipline, and you take action. Many people will have something like cancer, and two things happen. They're very afraid. Okay, when you get a diagnosis that you have cancer, you become very stressed out and very fearful. And the next thing is that we have given so much of our power and authority, our personal power and authority, to the doctor, that we won't do anything that the doctor doesn't say. But a person who makes a decision that they want to do something alternative, they can make a difference in their life and actually what they call regress the cancer or make it go away. And I have lots of patients, lots of clients who have done that. But it takes a severe amount of discipline. And if you decide that you're not going to take the medication and you're not going to get the surgery, then you have to tenaciously do something different. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to do anything. You have to play full out. You have to jump right in on the alternative side and do what the practitioner asks you to do.
Now, there are a lot of people with severe diagnosis,
yes,
threatening diagnosis, that will go to foreign countries. They will go to Mexico.
They
will go to Panama.
Mm-hmm.
They will go as far as China.
Yes.
For alternative methods to be healed, and some claim they were successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true. One of the I work with and familiar with a doctor out of Germany who has a 93% cancer cure rate, and he's barred from the United States. He cannot teach his system in the United States. Well, one of the things that we have to realize is that sickness and death is a business in the United States. It's sad to say, but the pharmaceutical industries and the Food and Drug, yes, and the Food and Drug Administration and all of that is not designed to help the people. And anything that would put a dent in their ability to make $1 off of the suffering of the people, they're not willing to allow it into the country. So therefore, like you said, people travel all over the world to get the healing.
But what's the difference in one type of criminal and another type of criminal? One type of criminal that's outlawed according to your statutes and the legal system, and another type of criminal that's doing the same thing and not outlawed according to statutes. A criminal is a criminal.
A criminal is a criminal, and there's a higher law and judgment that
and that's
people,
God's law.
That's right, that they're going to be subject to. But in the meantime, we don't have to subject ourselves to the criminal mind. We can make a decision for ourselves to do something different.
If we're educated, and if we know, and if we study, and if we have confidence. You got to have confidence in somebody.
Yes, you have to have confidence, mostly in your in the Creator, God the Creator, and in yourself. and in whoever the practitioner is. So when my client comes to me, I always tell them, I'll take you as far as you're willing to go, and I'll know when you're no longer willing, because we're not going to waste each other's time. And if a person comes and they have a terminal illness or something that can, something that can be life-threatening, I don't want to waste time. I want to see if they want to jump right in right now, and if not, I send them back to their physician.
When you think about the naturopathic physician, there's such a thing, isn't it?
Yes, there is.
There's a program over the internet that you can take for that.
Yes.
And be
certified. Yes.
And be a physician, right?
Yes.
What's the difference in that and go and sit in 4 years in a classroom?
Well, the difference is we're talking about naturopathic medicine and allopathic medicine. What is taught in the universities where doctors go and become medical doctors is allopathic medicine. They learn to medicate and to cut. In naturopathic teaching, you learn to find the root of the problem and treat the cause, not just the symptom. And so you're not looking to mask it at all. You want to give a remedy that's going to help stop the suffering or the pain, but you also going to recommend the things to actually root out the cause of the problem from the body, and thus healing the whole body, and not just cut out parts or medicate to cover or mask the symptoms. So big difference. So the naturopath and the allopath are two different philosophies and techniques of treating the body for illness.
Artists, we're continuing to talk with.
Can I help you?
No, I got it. Our guest tonight, Shife. We're continuing to talk with Shife as we talk about natural healing, as we talk about our health and being healthy. Natural healing comes as a result of a conscientious effort to be healed. It just doesn't happen by itself. We have to make a conscious decision that we want this healing. And she's helping us to understand the history of it, where we are with it today in our society, and the future of naturopathic healing, and the future of being healthy because you want to be healthy. And so that brings us to the question about AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome.
Yes.
That plagues our community at high and alarming rates. In fact, African American women have a high incidence of than anybody else in this country. And you're saying your philosophy is
that if you want to, I'll go from a client that I had diagnosed with an AIDS client, HIV/AIDS, and was full blown, and she was actually going to the VA.
She was going to die.
She was expected to die, and with a.
Why was she going to the VA? Was she a veteran?
She was a vet. She was a vet, and actually contracted it through a blood transfusion in the military.
Most of the people, if you ask them, a lot of people, how'd you get it? So often when I talk to people, I interview them, I've interviewed a lot of people, I won't ask that because most of them will say, 90% of them will say, through blood transfusion.
And we know there are sexually transmitted disease, right? And also drugs, the use of the needle. So of course most people, because it's socially acceptable. And so that's one of the things that a person who has an illness deals with, the fear, okay, and being rejected, particularly with HIV/AIDS. And we completely and severely changed her dietary. We added some super supplements and foods to her system, cleaned her system, and in 3 months her AIDS was undetectable. Now they will never say that it goes away because the
virus is in your system you've already been exposed to.
Right, but they can't find it. That's what's so very interesting about it. And so it's going back to the criminal mind again. They won't say that you don't have it anymore. They'll just say that it's undetectable. So we moved her from having full blown to being undetectable.
Not only that, there are a lot of tribes in our third world countries with AIDS, and according to the research, you find that happening a lot. it's in their body and they're able to live a life with it. But it's there.
So they're saying, so the HIV, the virus.
Artists, we're continuing to talk with Shefay as we talk about natural healing. But we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to share with you how you can make a difference in your life through natural healing. How you can do some things that are preventive that will help you to live healthy and to live longer. So don't go away. cold?
A little bit.
Audience, we're continuing to talk with Shifei as we talk about healthy healing, natural healing. As we talk about natural healing, and along with natural healing is healthy eating. And before we left for the break, thank you for coming back with us. We said we'd say how you fit in and how you can make a difference in your lives and how you can be a benefit to yourselves and your family and your community. Shifei, I'm reading something here in an African American publication that says, African Americans have the highest incidence and mortality rate from chronic diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and obesity, all related to foods consumed.
Yes.
And they say they're calling for an original tasting healthy recipe where you take away salt, sugar, and that you have under 600 calories in that particular meal.
Okay. So we do, as a people, African Americans do suffer disproportionately from everything. And so part of that...
Not only obesity, chronic diseases, cardiovascular, diabetes.
That's right. That's right.
But look, go on down the line. Not only that, look at the court system. You see, that's cluttered with African Americans.
That's right.
Look at the criminal justice system.
That's right.
So it's not only these things, but other things too. Other ills of society.
That's right. That's right.
But we'll come back to this one because this is our topic for tonight.
Okay. But it's all related. And I'm glad that you bring that in, because the quality of our thoughts and our mood and our consciousness is directly related to the foods that we eat. And it's only in our community that you find a drugstore, a packaged goods store where they sell liquor, and fast food on every corner. And that's by design. That is by design. And so we were talking earlier about the way that the media pushes to eat certain things, and we are very impressionable people. We're emotional based, and so when we see something on TV and it looks good, we go eat it. And because we've had a diet over centuries that was not good for us, now it becomes, how do we change our lifestyle? How do we move our consciousness toward wanting to eat better so that our health is better?
But you know something? We ate that way because that was the food that was available to us.
That was given.
You had to eat that way or you had to starve.
Yes.
Now a pig? Is there a difference between a pig and a dog and a cat?
No, but the difference is you don't have to eat it. Now we have choice.
Is there a difference though?
In terms of whether it's good for you or in your body, or?
In terms of the animal.
Well, yes, absolutely. A dog and a cat, and it's like apples and oranges, and a pig, yes, totally different. Totally different. So if you're going to make a choice with regard to food,
do they belong to the same, at some point in time, they belong to the same structure, don't they?
Well, if you're going to talk about how they were genetically modified into one being the other, yes, yes. So but most people have no idea the kind of science you're talking about right now, or even believe that what we're talking about is true, that a cat, a dog, and a pig are the same strain of genetics. So
they are.
Yes, they are. They absolutely are.
But that's
a stretch for people, right?
That's another share.
Yes, that's a stretch. So when we're talking about African Americans and being sick disproportionately to other ethnic groups, it's because we are choosing to eat the same way that our foreparents have eaten who did not have a choice, but we do have choice, but we have not made that choice.
No, so they had to eat chitlins.
They had to eat chitlins.
They had to eat pig ears and pig stomach.
From the rooter to the tutor.
Is that good? No.
No, I don't recommend pork for anyone. And they try to push it as the new white meat. You know, it's all marketing and all of the fast food and those things. So when we talk about making this change, if you decide you want to be healthy, if you decide that you don't want to die from a preventable disease, that's what's so ridiculous about it, that high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity can all be prevented. and we seem not to have the will to want to be well.
Not only that, we don't have the education that we have to constantly be told. We have to constantly be taught. I think we're not taught that. If we're taught early on, even in school, if we're taught that, even in our families, our churches, where you have masses of people, and we are taught that early on, I think it would make a difference in our lives, because we're taught other things that we believe in. It becomes a part of who we are and the way we interact in our culture.
Yes.
I believe you, and I believe you, and I'm almost certain it does make a difference, because I've helped family members just with my limited knowledge of the human body structure, human nutrition, and what goes into the body.
Yes.
So why we're teaching our people? Why do we have to have this? Well, and back to AIDS.
and there's a lot of teaching going on. There is a lot of teaching going on, but
Where?
well, I do a lot of teaching. I've been doing a lot of teaching for 40 years, but in the mainstream, you're not going to see it because of what we talked about with regard to where the money flows. So they give attention to where the money flows. So,
well, why is the Americans? This whole American culture is financially driven.
That's right.
Everything is money.
That's everything. Everything. Food is money. So if they can keep you eating everything
you do,
that's causing all of the problems, it not only fuels the food industry, but the pharmaceutical industry, right? And the hospitals. And the people got to have jobs.
And the investors who invest in it.
Yes, and insurance companies.
And what happened in the 60s, we had a lot of companies, a lot of individuals who were selling vitamins.
Yes.
I mean, they were selling vitamins and making multi-level profits.
Yes.
Off of vitamins, and there were about 5 different main brands that they were selling. And now you don't hear anything about it. What happened?
Well, one of the things,
somebody put a stop to it.
Well, no, not really. It's almost like a subculture. If you're not really paying
the market,
attention,
that was the end of it.
Well, not really, because I live in that world, and so I could tell you dozens of companies that you just talked about, and I started.
They went out of business, didn't they?
Well, no, there are many vitamin companies that are nutritional companies that are just thriving, and the consciousness really of the country has risen to, and not as much in our community as in others, but there's a huge demand for it, actually. So,
well, what happened with the individuals who we had a lot of individual salespersons?
Yes.
Doing multi-level marketing in the 60s and 70s, and they were selling vitamins. Audience, I want to thank you for being with us on Views with Joyce Vidal. I want you to tune in again next week for another interesting program. And thank you so much
for
sharing.
Been a pleasure.
And for being with us.